and mom didn't care, but she was letting me read things that were above my age group. And,
Mm-hmm.
there were people that knew she was allowing me to read these things, and she was like, she can handle it.
Yeah.
She has to learn somehow that these things happen in life, and
Yeah.
we talk about it at home. We talk about what happens in
Right. In the
people's
books.
lives and from the
Right.
books and how it relates to real life. And
Hello, and welcome to Story Power, a bi monthly podcast I created because I'm an unabashed story lover. Stories have had a huge impact on my life, starting with the family movie night discussions my parents instituted when I was a child. I want to share that love with you. As cognitive scientist Roger C. Shanks says, humans are not ideally set up to understand logic. They are ideally set up to understand stories. I'm making it my mission to not only spread the love of stories, but all the valuable things they teach us about human nature and relationships. We humans are emotional creatures, and stories help us examine our emotions from a comfortable distance. They also help us walk in the shoes of the characters to help us see the world in new ways. It's my hope you gain some valuable insights from my guests.
Hello, Story Power listeners. Today happens to be episode 131, and it happens to be on the week of my 5-year anniversary. And since I love talking movies and stories with my sister Celeste Sage Tate, I invited her to talk with me today. So Celeste and I are gonna go off on a bunch of tangents about how stories and how much we love them. And Celeste, I'm so glad that you're here today. Thanks for joining me.
I am grateful to be here because I love to talk stories and movies and books and life.
Yes. Yes. So I was just telling you, Celeste, before we started recording about I was a guest on an upcoming episode of The Podcast Nation with Rory. Oh, I can't remember Rory's last name, but he and I were talking about he looked it up what I do and he said, "Oh my gosh, you're retired and you do more than I do." But he loved it that I am unabashedly a story lover, and I only came to that recently. So, but you've probably been more that than I have, at least unabashedly. But my whole career, everything that I've done, practically all my career steps, all my education, uh, is about stories. So, yeah,
Well, I mean, I guess life is, you know, life is a story. I mean, and if it doesn't create, if you think it's not a story, then you're not paying attention.
yeah,
I think stories, of course, um, are help us grow, help us become, if we're paying attention and attentive and in the present, um, serve a purpose for lessons in life.
hmm,
You know, I we were cultivated in our home, as you know, Lucinda, to read, to be present, to be critical thinkers, to think about, as dad would always say, put yourself in people's shoes, think about
hmm,
what their story might be, for empathy and compassion and understanding of how people's lives affect their behavior,
yeah.
their attitude, on why they are compassionate or may lash out. Um, so dad and mom always taught us to think about how what matters,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
ask, I
what
love that.
matters.
I love what um Dale Carnegie says, and it's, I'm not going to quote the quote, but ask why people do what they do.
Right.
And
Ask
and
why
that's
all the time.
and that's the one thing that I loved
Yeah.
about all the stories that they encouraged us to consume and when we watch movies together. And mom would hand me books to read, um, and dad would have discussions about what he was reading. And
Yeah.
the thing was that they were teaching us to look beneath the surface
Right.
and to ask why. Why do people
Right.
do what they do? And stories are a way that you can walk in somebody else's shoes and learn lessons about relationships and all that stuff without
Right.
having to live it.
Right. Well, I mean, and you basically are living it when you get involved in your story anyway.
Yeah.
Um, I think it teaches you how to feel the feelings, whether
Mm-hmm.
besides just two feelings,
Mm-hmm.
anger or joy. It
Right.
teaches you all that stuff in between too.
Right.
And life skills. It
Right.
teaches you life skills.
Yeah.
I think considering what we go through and what we're observing in every society, our current society, I think stories and people being educated and reading banned books or not banned books or any book, we're missing that
Yeah.
because then you don't
Yeah.
have to maybe learn the hard way.
Really.
You know? Um,
Yeah.
stories connect, they keep us connected.
Yeah. Right.
That's why I think so many people have, movie clubs and book clubs and clubs in general that are healthy. They get you talking.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we realize it or not, we all love stories.
Yes.
I think that's why, there are so many celebrity book clubs or book clubs in general. I can't tell you how many people I know that have a book club.
Yeah.
You got a book club.
Well, not only that, but I think it was on our last morning home from our vacation from visiting you guys. Uh, we went we were staying in this brand new La Quinta hotel in Yuma. And instead of having Fox News on, they had like the the
What?
Wives of Atlanta, or what is the name of that show?
Oh, yeah, Real Housewives or something
Real
like that.
Housewives. Yeah. And I was listening to it and I thought, man, this is so fakey. And
Yeah.
they have these fakey encounters, and a lot of times they're antagonistic. And at that moment, I said, I think I want to go on a crusade to stop these stupid realistic shows that
Yeah.
aren't realistic. But then
Oh,
later I
right,
thought, oh, well, but maybe somebody might learn something from that. I mean, it
right,
depends on what
right.
level you're on.
Yeah.
Uh, so then I revised my judgment about it.
Well,
uh,
I mean, that's something that I probably need a revision of that as well because um, I just think they're so shallow and so
hmm
immature,
Yes,
emotionally just the lowest you can get, competition and revenge
right.
and I mean, like someone pointed out the other day, the Cosmos was on for what, 2 or 3 seasons, but the Kardashians have been on for 15 or something like that. It's
Yeah,
like, what do we got going on here?
yeah.
But
Unless you look
but
at
you're
something
right.
like
That's the
Like
process we have to go through.
PBS, with
Right, right,
those.
right. But I think you're right though, Lucinda. I mean, we probably should view that differently. Maybe there are people getting something that's their launching off point.
Yeah, right.
You
They're
know,
not
that's
right.
a launching off
Yeah,
point for moving on to something else.
right,
And maybe just maybe, it's a judgment thing. Maybe the Kardashians aren't, maybe they're not as shallow as I think they are. I don't know. I just know for me, I don't need that part of storytelling in my life.
right.
What they call reality TV. I
Yeah,
I don't find it interesting to be a voyeur.
right.
It's not fascinating to me at all. I I'm not interested in the show Survivor or Naked
I
and
know.
Afraid. Those kind of things do absolutely nothing for me.
I
But if
know.
you
Me
do
either.
something for someone else to, like you said, like I just said, a launching off point for exploring something
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
because we don't know. I mean, maybe the people in those stories, in those reality TV things, are mentioning books that they like to read or mentioning
Yeah.
why they do what they do, and it gets people curious into, oh, well, maybe, oh, they like that book, or oh, they like this kind of story. Oh, maybe I could look into that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Right.
Um,
I don't
but
watch them, so I don't
obviously,
either.
right. But obviously it serves some sort of purpose, because
Yeah.
let's face it, if it didn't serve a purpose, it wouldn't exist, right?
Yeah, and maybe the purpose is it just helps people de-stress. Maybe that's part of the
Right.
purpose.
Maybe that's exactly what it is. I'm going to look into someone else's life so I can just be
Yeah.
away from my stresses
But you
for a
know what?
while.
I think that memoir and autobiography and biographies are also pretty popular, and
Right.
those are more highbrow ways of looking into somebody else's life. But it's like this was written by the most of the time,
True.
written
True.
by the people, unless it's a biography of somebody who's already died or something. But I we are fascinated with each other. We're just fascinated.
Well, I mean, we might as well be, because we live on this planet together.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's maybe it is the part of the purpose it serves is helping people step outside of their own heads.
Right.
So you're not overthinking things, or
Right.
just simply looking at how someone else has dealt with something and go, oh,
Wait a
well,
minute. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to deal with it that way. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that they're pretty
Yeah.
popular, and that is a form of storytelling. And yeah, to you and I, we go, well, that doesn't seem real. And but once again, there is value in escaping your own story for a while,
Yeah.
because we do have, doing what I do for my job, being a massage therapist and dealing with people in industrial rehab. I
Yeah.
mean, oh my gosh, the stress that people live
Yeah.
to pay
Really.
their bills and to try to even, it's so, you get injured, and that's PTSD right there.
Yeah.
Because some of the injuries and the stories that these people have that I hear every day, it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
You know, it's not
Yeah.
just simply picking up a heavy box, and I tweaked my back. I mean,
Right.
people are, in the construction world, are, falling down and caving through several
Yeah.
stories, and, ending up in the hospital for months and months because they cracked their head open and had to have 15 stitches and or staples put in their head, and,
Yeah.
they don't even know how they got there because
Yeah.
it's so traumatic,
Yeah.
to uh the company's treating them absolutely horribly.
Yeah.
So, not a lot of people have, it has not been cultivated in a lot of cultures, even, especially as you come here. The easy way is to turn on the TV and
Hmm.
watch something else,
Or
to just
take some
go,
pills.
oh, yeah, and so I have become less critical of that as well, because I don't really want to be judgmental.
Yeah.
That's part of my story. I just want to see people in their purest form, and just care about them.
Yeah. And let them have their journey. I mean,
Right. It's
we
not
st
mine, but it's theirs.
Yeah, because the stories mom and dad started us on were pretty simple
Oh
when we
yeah.
were little kids, you
Yeah.
know. And I remember when I was in high school, mom started shoving these Barbara Cartland romance novels at
Yeah.
me, and I read some of them. I read maybe 10 or maybe 15. And eventually I went, these are all the same.
They're all the same stories, yeah.
They're really boring. And so I started reading historical novels, I started reading James Michener was the first one. And the reason I did is because they had made a miniseries out of one of his books, Centennial. And
Oh, yes,
I loved that. And so
yes,
I went to read the book. That's
right.
how I got started on it. I got hooked on it that way. And his books are not light reading.
Oh, no,
Uh,
they're huge
so
novels.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
read the oh, there was another by Jake's was his last name. They're like patriotic, they're about the revolutionary
Oh, right,
period.
right.
Oh gosh, I can't think of the names. I read those.
Yeah,
And yeah, so you just kind of grow.
right, right.
You just kind of grow.
Well, I mean, you know, uh, and mom didn't care, but she was letting me read things that were above my age group. And,
Hmm.
there were people that knew she was allowing me to read these things, and she was like, well, she can handle it.
Yeah.
She has to learn somehow that these things happen in life,
Yeah.
and we talk about it at home. We talk about what happens
Right. In the
in
books.
people's lives and from the
Right.
books and how it relates to real life. And so we had those things all the time. And I think I think for mom and dad, I mean, I don't know how to say it any other way. It seems like to me it felt like um mom sometimes had some struggles because she didn't have a family that always communicated, but um the way she and dad communicated with each other and talked about parenting,
Hmm.
for some people, it would almost seem seamless for them, that parenting was not hard for them. But I
Yeah.
think when if parenting seems hard, it's because it matters to you.
Yeah.
It
Right.
matters to you how you impact your children's lives.
Yeah, and I think mom wanted to engage us, Dan and I, because you girls were so young, you weren't ready to read yet.
Right.
But uh mom and dad wanted to engage us in reading, and so mom just handed me things that I
Right.
don't think she
And why
didn't hand
not?
me any of the mysteries, but what they did for Dan was they bought Sports Illustrated for him
Right. Right.
to get him interested in
Right.
reading. And he's the one who put John Wooden's book in my hands, the coach of UCLA uh, basketball team.
Yeah.
And it was a great book.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah.
so he found that out about that book from Sports Illustrated.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and it just shows how um Dan, he has said to us on several occasions in the past, it has changed. Well, I don't really like, fiction.
Hmm.
I don't understand why people want to read fiction. And here
Hmm.
he is married to a woman, and that's what Peg reads is her fiction.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yet he's seeing value in a lot of these things because, they go to the movies all the time. And
Yes, they do.
those are fiction stories. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, he absolutely loved Barbie, the Barbie movie, that's not a real story, you
I
know,
know.
but Dan and Peg, have like what Heather and John and we have done with Jamie and I've done with our own children is the value of the stories and the value
Right.
of what you can
Right.
learn from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I love reading biographies. I can see why Dan would hand you that book because, I think um why people write their interest, I mean, because they're showing you, it's almost like a guidebook for some people.
Yeah. Right.
Oh my gosh, you mean they didn't come from easy street?
Right.
No, they had to really work hard to get to where they got.
Yeah.
Because, we know there's a lot of people, especially during the Depression and, a lot of those
Mm.
coaches that Dan and people, they didn't come from easy lives.
No.
Actors that we love, they didn't come from easy lives.
Mm-mm.
And, that's their personal stories. But I think, if you see some of these actors and how they can, Oh my gosh. They can do their personal growth on the screen. And I
Sometimes
mean,
they
that's
do, yeah.
therapy. I've
Yes.
heard how many times have we watched Inside the Actor Studio and they talk about doing these parts has been therapy for me.
Yeah,
It's
right.
helped me
Well, it
explore
was
my
for
own
me.
personal demons.
Right. It was for me because, 2 years into my college career, and I was getting harassed for being a religious studies major and
Oh yeah.
being the only woman in the program. And then something happened between year 2 and year 3. One was Howard Booth said, go buy a notebook and just start writing in it.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And
That's great.
then and then in the summertime when I went home, I took a couple of college classes from Olympic College. Almost said Cochise College. From Olympic College, and one of them was interpersonal relations, and it was taught by a
Oh,
theater guy.
oh wow. Yeah.
And he's the one who said, "Have you ever considered trying out for some plays at your college?" And I said, no. Now, I had tried out for some in high school and never got, well, one was in junior high and one was in high school. And I never got a part, but I worked backstage and I enjoyed that. So
Right.
I said, okay, I'll try that. And I went back to college to Graceland and I auditioned. I didn't get a part for the homecoming play, but I did get to work on lights on the spot. I was working on the spotlight
Oh
because
yeah.
it was a musical, and it was really fun. And I got to know the regular kids that were in the theater program, and I just kept auditioning. And I auditioned for the next play was a Shakespeare play. My first play that I got a part in was a Shakespeare play.
Oh,
And that's how I met Barry. It was The Merchant of Venice,
oh yeah.
and
Great.
it was so great. And so I started taking, like, they had crossover classes, like a literature class that
Oh
was a
yeah.
crossover with religion or with
Right.
theater. And you could get dual credit for it.
Oh
And
yeah.
so
Fun.
I took a Shakespeare class, and read like 13 or 14 plays in that semester. And I got involved in the club because they had a club.
Oh yeah.
And that was what saved me because those people were so supportive
Yes.
and they
Right.
saw what was happening to me and they kind of, encouraged me to keep going. And they supported what I was doing. And even Celia Shaw supported what I was doing, my mentor, my theater mentor. And so I just, and I got more parts, and when I didn't, I worked backstage, and it was like this supportive community.
A huge, yeah, huge community. Right.
Yes.
Well, and that's what the arts is, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And anything that you find a passion for, like some people go, "Ugh, law school, that is you're such a lone wolf and stuff." But having a niece that is a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
um, Jill found an amazing community in that.
Oh yeah. Well, they have study groups. They have
Right.
to.
She found
There's
an
a lot.
amazing community. And
Yeah.
that's what, for some people, it's so interesting. The ones that say they want to take away public education, they want to defund this, and they want to, oh, let's, close down colleges or whatever it is they're trying to say. It's so interesting that they too went to college.
I know.
And I wonder sometimes, did you go to college and were you alone all the time? Did you isolate yourself? I mean, I don't understand how you can go and get any kind of degree in something and then get to a place where you don't want anyone else to be educated.
Right.
I don't know what happens with that.
Or socialized. I mean,
Or socialized, right?
yeah, if
I
you
mean,
live on campus, that's a great
oh
learning
yes.
tool.
Oh yes. And talk about bringing you to emotional maturity
Yeah,
is that's the first place you go is to get away from home,
right,
start figuring out who you want to be.
right.
And why I mean, it's obviously they want to have some sort of controlled society. Um, I know that will not last. It never has.
Mm-mm.
Every society that has ever tried to do that, to be ruling over people, is never in the history of the world ever worked.
Well, yeah, might work for a while.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, it appears it's this appearance,
yeah.
but
But
but isn't
there are
that,
always rebels underneath
yeah,
this.
and isn't that an interesting story?
Yeah,
I'm fascinated with what brought you to that place of making this a part of your story,
right.
that you want to isolate people from being educated in any way.
Yes.
And of course their catchword is indoctrination. You know, this is their word of indoctrinating people into what? Thinking for yourself,
Yeah.
being in a community,
Yeah.
feeling the community, feeling more emotion than anger and joy. I mean, you know,
Right.
that's but I always ask this question. I wonder what brought them to that place of wanting no one to be educated. I find that interesting.
Well, they want the elites to be educated.
Of course, but that's
Uh,
what we want, is the elite,
yeah,
right?
and we have lots of stories that like Goodwill Hunting is one of them, but what's the other
Oh,
one? A Dead Poet Society, both Robin Williams.
oh
Uh,
yeah, they're both
uh,
Robin Williams.
and
Dead
but
Poet Society. Oh, both of them. Right.
even like people would call it a silly movie, but I've been watching some videos about the 60s movies that are like groundbreaking
Oh yeah.
idea wise, and some are
Right.
places like that.
Oh yeah.
And Troy Donahue's going to one of those prestigious prep schools before he goes off to college,
Oh yes.
and he isn't paying attention, and the instructor says, what what do you think about this, or don't you want to be a leader? And he goes, even know how to run my own life, much less
Yeah.
lead anybody
Right.
else,
Right.
which is like this really revolutionary
It
idea.
is a huge, that movie has so many undertones
Hmm.
of what an upper crust, the illusion of what it is, but
Yeah.
his home life is
Oh, yeah.
trash.
Oh, yeah.
His home life is utter trash. And they're not really wealthy. They're old money,
Yeah.
but his father was never allowed to explore who he wanted to be. He had to keep this false narrative,
And so
and
he became an
pressure
alcoholic.
of that, he became a severe alcoholic and wasted the family money.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
such a miserable man
Yeah.
and so sad,
It
and
is sad.
never allowed to explore his own interests because of the family name,
Right.
and but
Yes.
yet, because he marries this woman who was the exact opposite of all those things.
She had gumption, man.
Yeah,
She's the one that
you
kept the
know,
family together.
and I really believe was the influence of her son saying
Hmm.
that very thing. How could I be a leader if I don't
I
even
don't.
know who I am?
Well, criminy, I mean, to have an adult think that a 17 or 18, I guess he was 18 maybe.
Yeah, he
Maybe
might
he
have been
was
18.
in college,
Yeah.
but he 18 or 19, to know
Right,
their whole life
right,
path?
right. Yeah.
No. No,
That
no,
is
no.
something that we have created in society in general that is a little, that's so outdated. We need to think differently,
I
because
know.
I have told my kids all the time, I do not expect you to know who you are as soon as you graduate from high school.
Right.
I said, crime and
Hey.
Netley, I just worked jobs until at one point I was in my 20s and I went, I think I might want to go to massage school.
Yeah.
I just jobs. I got married for the
Yeah.
first time, and oh my goodness. I mean, I thought I was pretty smart in my 20s. You're not.
Oh man, my
Although I have
20s.
no regrets about going to massage school. Massage has
No.
brought an interesting array of things to my life.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful that if I had done something right out of high school, I actually took some psychology classes thinking that was along the line of things,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I just felt like it was some of the stuff back then, I think was just so restricted.
Hmm.
Everything I ever took, I was just like, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with those methods.
Yeah.
So
Eh,
I left that. I decided I just couldn't do it.
yeah.
And I think the other thing that's starting to become outdated is all those prerequisites. You've got to take your science, you got to take your math, you got to
Hmm.
take, blah, blah, blah. Why?
Well, I went to
Not,
a liberal arts college, and I did have to do that. I had to take science or math. Actually, I ended up taking science and math. I wasn't supposed to do that. I was supposed to take one or the other. But and I'm kind of grateful because I do have an interest in science and archaeology and anthropology and all that kind of stuff. It's not my career, but it is
no,
kind of
but
nice to know a little bit
for
about those
some
things.
kids, it's not, I think it should be more loosely based. This is all
Oh,
I'm saying.
yes. Oh, yes.
I'm
I
so
agree.
grateful that I went, like, let's talk trade school. That's another
Hmm.
story.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if we promote trades enough. And when you go to trade school, you don't have to do all those prerequisites. You go
Right.
in and you learn your trade. You learn
Right.
some is welding, some is, construction.
Right.
There's an array of trade schools out there now.
Yeah.
And for me, just going straight in my 20s and directly just focusing on the massage, which massage at its surface appears to be just massage.
Fluffy.
And and it's not.
No, you
You
gotta
have
learn
to
it.
go. What I loved about the massage school I went to, and I don't know what they're teaching in massage schools, the physio emotional part of it,
Right.
because all of it's connected.
Well, and also you had to learn all the muscles and the bones and how
Oh,
they
yeah, it was science
connected
in
and
itself. Let's face
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
to learn kinesiology. I had to learn all sorts of stuff,
Yeah.
which I loved.
Right.
Absolutely. It wasn't just learning the art of massage and, doing certain techniques on people.
Right.
Absolutely the truth. So yes, there was a science in that. You're absolutely right. However, what I love when you get into the nitty gritty of massage is the story and the stories that you hear from people. And if you're not grounded and empathetic and being able to also be just an observer
Right.
and not becoming a part of the people's trauma or drama,
Right.
you can't really be assistive in their health and in
Right.
their recovery.
In their healing process.
You
Yeah.
cannot. You cannot help them in their healing process.
Right.
Sitting there and crying with them and sharing your story too. That's not what this is about.
No.
However, I do believe that that career and hearing people's stories and being able to, because of the lessons we learned, particularly from our father, um, being able to be a really good listener,
Yes.
to be that presence of spirit, to just allow people to just feel it all and you're just listening.
Yes.
And
Now,
so
I agree with you about the trade school thing. For me, it was great. I had a wide-ranging interest, but you do too, and you
oh
read.
yeah.
So there are lots of different ways that you can learn things. You don't have
Oh
to
yeah.
go to
Yeah,
college. You don't have to go to
I agree.
Yale or Harvard or any of the
Right. Which,
big
don't get
prestigious.
me wrong, I am not trying to belittle university. I mean, my daughter just graduated from UW as with a double major. And yet, look at what her double major was.
Hmm.
Archaeological sciences and theater.
Right,
That is a story in itself on how expansive we all are. We're not just one thing.
right,
We're not supposed to be.
right.
And, when she came to me, her first choice for the double major was archaeological sciences and history. She thought that
Oh,
would be a great companion.
Uh-huh.
And she got done with almost done with her first semester of history, and she was bored.
Mm,
And she realized how much she missed performing because, as you know, she
yes.
did ballet up until the age of 9 until we could no longer afford it because it was so massively expensive. And she really missed that. So she wanted that back and she knew she could do it through theater.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the beauty of it is, as you know, Lucinda, theater taught her so much confidence.
Yes.
It taught her
It
how to present
does.
herself to people, and
Yes.
ballet had been doing the same thing, which really blends well with what she has to do in archaeology. The career she really wants to focus on, but at the same time, she would still like to do some theater things as well. Because archaeology is a seasonal career.
Right.
And so she has decided on her off seasons, she will do theater. She would
Yeah.
like to be in plays. So, what a great it looks like it's these way opposite spectrum, but really it's not because she knows in archaeology she's going to have to give presentations, she's going to have to write papers, and to be able to talk in front of people to say and to justify why they're going to go do this blah 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 dig
Right.
or whatever.
Well, and not only that, but when you find the artifacts, you're
Right.
trying to put together the story
Right.
of those
Right.
people
It is.
who,
That's what she loves about, studying the the cultures is been so enriching for her because of their stories.
yes.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, and that's what story power is about. There is power in our stories because um it also is just another sign of community.
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
the community that sharing your stories, the growth and the healing and absolute aha moments you can have in people's stories.
Yeah.
You know, and the unfortunate thing that does happen in some people's stories, like, Ariel, when she was in Cambodia 2 years ago, I mean, she went to the Genocide Museum and, what she learned, she actually talked to some of the
Right.
people that were survivors of this.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them really had to dig deep for a really long time to feel safe to tell their story of their experience. And that impacted her.
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, she said, hearing their stories and being a part of that changed my life.
Mm.
She goes, it altered how I view people, how I view culture, how I view the trauma that happens to people.
Mm-hmm.
So now she'll do her digs and you find certain artifacts. And of course, now she's going to go to grad school in England and study human bones. She now views last year when she went to Spain, did the digs with the bones. She felt the impact of these stories and
Mm-hmm.
how these bones got to where they were at.
Well, and also the stories that the bones tell.
They tell you the story.
Yeah.
She said that. She's like, "Oh my gosh. No wonder why so many people love archaeology because it's storytelling.
Yeah.
It's not just a simple history, it's
Right.
storytelling."
Right.
And she loves it. She says, and every time I tell people, I always tell her, "Oh, I tell somebody, archaeology, you're doing archaeology." And they're like, "Oh my God, what a totally cool career."
Yeah.
She's going to have so much fun her entire life.
Yeah. Well, and if she gets into analyzing bones, she could do that during the off season. She could
Yeah,
be
she could. I
analyzing.
mean, because people ask all the time, well, would she end up, in a museum? I said, well, she has found from people that she's talked to when she's gone to these field schools that you do a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only do you have to go do your digs, but you got to take it someplace and study it
Right.
and figure out, there's a whole big process that happens with that. And of course, I think when she goes to grad school, that's going to help her hone in on you know, how much digs do I want to do? How much do, because I know, I mean, this is a girl that, she's not very naturey by nature.
She doesn't
You
like to
know,
go camping.
she's not an outdoorsy kind of girl.
Hmm.
And here she is, like one of our really good friends at her graduation party said, "Oh my gosh, in the 10 years that you guys have been here, we have seen Ariel grow from this little girl that wants to sit in a corner and just read and not talk to anybody. And now she's an archaeologist and she's going to go travel the world and dig in dirt."
Right.
I mean, they're like, wow,
Yeah.
this is this has been a pleasure for them to see her growth.
Yeah.
They're amazed by it, by her
Yeah.
story,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and inspired with her courage, because stories do take courage, right, Lucinda?
Oh, yeah. Any writer will tell you that
Right.
they some of them plot out their story and they
Yes.
start writing it and then they realize, oh, wait a minute, my story needs to go off in this direction instead of that direction.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think is so fun about films for writers, that prolific writers life that we do once a month, is we watch a film and we talk about the writing process in that particular film. And yeah, and also sometimes y- I have found this in just recently as I'm thinking about more about my book, that you have to examine human nature and your own human nature
Right.
and allow your characters to go through some really hard stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, you were just talking about, before we started talking about this, about the stories in the MCU.
Yeah.
Even in I think any of the graphic novels, when we were kids, we thought, oh, they called them comics, right?
Hmm.
But really, there is, like you said, I tell people this all the time. These comics, these now the MCU and DC and all these things that are being made into movies and have been being made into movies for some
Hmm.
time now, there are modern day mythology.
Well, and
And
yes,
and I think that
they
is
are.
so true, because now that they're being made into these movies, having never read a graphic novel a day in my life, I understand why they've been important to people,
Really,
because
really.
they do tell such a bigger story than just being a superhero, you
Yeah,
know?
well, Virginia Fow Thompson that I worked with in at Cochise College studied in Japan. She's a potter and she teaches pottery and ceramics. And she lived in Japan for 5 years. She was teaching
Wow.
English or something. And she said one of the teaching tools that they have in Japan are these little, I've forgotten the name of them. They're little comic books. And they have like
Oh,
moral
wow.
lessons or something,
Oh, that's so
and
great.
they start the children off pretty young with these,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
adults even read them. I mean, they make them for all different ages,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that is a really important uh category of literature, if you want to
Right.
call it that.
Well, I mean, I guess if you think about it, the thing used to be our fairy tales.
Mm.
And way Disney has made, the fairy tales have definitely cleaned them up, because
Oh yeah.
most fairy tales do not end happy.
Mm-mm.
They really truly are sad, depressing stories.
Yeah.
But yet those were stories that we encourage children to read
Right.
in all those many, many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and so to think that, um, I look back when people were like, "You're letting your daughter read blah blah blah," and mom was like,
Yeah.
"Why not? She's learning about something that's important." Well, think about these horrible fairy tales. Did
Yeah.
anybody at that time go, "Oh, my child should not read that"?
Right.
No one ever thought that. It
Or
was the
we
story.
shouldn't tell that story around the campfire.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We got to be very careful. And what an interesting process life has been, that when the brothers Grimm and fairy
Mm,
tales started to be written. No one ever back then went, Hansel and Gretel, she threw the children into the oven and she would basically eat them. No one ever
right.
went, well, that's a story that children should never read. And that's violent and that's going to teach them violence. You know, Pretty sure it didn't, so I mean, it's interesting how we've gone through these phases of things,
Yeah,
and it all really is just expansive and life lessons.
yeah,
I think it's
really.
interesting that Disney decided to take these stories and give them happy endings and not make them tragic. But yet it has caused people to go, well, that's not the real original story,
Yeah.
you
And my
know?
gosh, if people read some of the Greek plays that I studied in
Oh, for
theater,
heaven's sakes, right.
oh, Medea is so tragic.
Oh,
There,
yes,
most of them
right.
are tragic. Uh, uh, yeah, so wow. Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. Greek mythology, not the happiest, most joyful stories in any way, shape, or form.
No. Mm-mm,
However, think about real life.
mm-mm,
Our history of the world is not a joyful one.
mm-mm.
Not in any way, shape, or form have we ever had you come to the new world or you go to a new area that it's always conquering and the killing of someone to get what you want,
Right.
try to eradicate something to get what you want. And once again, that's never worked. I can't think of many cultures that have 100% been completely demolished. And because we love history, we love watching these things, you know, um, you see about how through nature or certain things is what really I think of the Mayans and some of the
Mhm.
Aztecs, and it wasn't they didn't kill each other off. It was how the society and the way they, like floods would come in or it was just so interesting. You're just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, their aqueducts didn't work quite well, and that didn't work out really well for them. And so I find that interesting too.
Yeah.
Why? And but those were lessons in that created stories for people to go, okay, well, we're not going to do it that way because that didn't work out. So what is that? That's cultural
Growth.
expansion. That's growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Growth.
that's because of the story. You have to learn from it.
Well, and also there are civilizations that got like uh when Vesuvius blew up and
Vesuvius. Right.
what's the name of the city that got buried? It we're still learning from them.
Oh yeah.
And there were
Yeah.
people who lived in that area who left when it
Right.
first blew
Pompeii.
up, they left and they
Yeah.
survived.
Or
So
there were people that, because I think about like we're talking about Pompeii,
oh yeah, Pompeii,
um,
that's what I was thinking.
that there were people that survived that because there
Mhm.
were the ones that went, this doesn't look like things are going to be okay. So yeah, we're
Yeah,
going to go relocate someplace else.
yeah.
And there are always people in these stories that do that choose to relook. I mean, how do you think America was created? Because in the old world, people were like, I don't really like having a king. I don't think this whole
Or
ruling
or
thing worked out.
or even way farther back than that. Look at
Oh, way
all the
farther back than that,
migration
right?
from
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
everywhere.
But when you study history of the world,
Mhm.
every culture has that story of I don't think I really kind of want that monarchy thing or how their story is trying to make me live.
Mhm.
Don't really like that. So people rise up and every culture has revolutionary stories of we're
Yeah.
gonna revolt. We don't want to live like this. We'd like to have something different take place. And you know, that's that's lessons.
Yeah.
You know, there are amazing stories. Like, you know, one of my favorite movies and stories is Les Miserables.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's such a simple story, but it is a story of a French Revolution,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, and how you got this people up here that want to live this certain way, and it's okay if you're poor and you're so hungry, you're just looking for bread,
Right.
you know, and we're going to keep you down if you happen to steal some bread
Right.
to live.
Right.
And the story of the man who hunts this guy down and ruins his own life, focused on, I got to get this guy. I got to get this guy. I got to get this guy. And the man who's being chased down, and his story that he creates of enrichment,
Yeah.
emotionally enriches his life
Yeah.
with these beautiful connective story that he creates. And his story of self-discovery that's the inspiring part.
Yes. Yeah. And he helps other people
And he
too.
helps other people.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's part of his enrichment in his life,
Yeah.
is his personal growth that
Yeah.
he has throughout the whole story of all this domino
Yeah.
effect of
Hmm.
how his it's such a, I mean, it's now. It can
Right.
happen right now.
Yes.
You know how you you don't know someone's story until it gets told, you
Right.
know, and that's what we want to hear, the stories being told.
Yeah, and we have I for some time, and who knows how long, there are people who just are so guarded that we never know their story.
No, we don't. And that is sad to me, when people do get so guarded, they will not
Hmm.
tell their story. And the disease it causes, the domino effect of that too.
Yeah.
You know, I've spoken with a young
Yeah.
man. His father was imprisoned in Cambodia during the genocide.
Oh, jeez.
And to this day, his father never talks about it.
Right.
He lost a sister that he never knew, um, because he was not born in Cambodia himself. His
Hmm.
parents located here. They were brought here after the genocide. And he never knew his sister because she died.
Yeah.
And his parents will
Never
never
talk
talk
about.
about it. They
Hmm.
don't talk. He just knows he has a sister. He knows her name, but that's it.
Yeah.
Because it hurts them. They think if they share it, it's too painful.
Right.
And he accepts his parents' pain.
Hmm.
He accepts his parents' angst because he understands that they couldn't share and don't know how to share their story.
Right.
He gets
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
but yet, you know, they had their own prejudices because, you know, we know it was a Vietnam Cambodian thing.
Right.
And oh, we are never going to allow a Vietnamese in our home. Well, one of his siblings fell in love with a Vietnamese person, you know, and oh, we're never going to let anybody of any other, you're going to marry a Cambodian. You're going to marry a
Uh-huh.
Cambodian. Well, you know, his wife is Samoan. You know, I mean, it's just that, and he says, and guess what happened? My parents have embraced them.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Know, they see that the mosaic of that
Mm.
diversity is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, life presents itself in a beautiful way because
Yeah.
we can share our stories. And you know, honestly, I know they call the stories fiction that we love to read, but there's always large parts of truth in them.
Truth.
There's truth
Hmm.
in them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like, you know, I'm reading this book series right now, and this guy at work goes, "Oh, I don't really like stories that have fairies and, you know, water."
Hmm.
nymphs and blah blah. He goes, I want it to be just people.
Uh-huh.
And I said, okay, well, you don't have to like the story that I'm reading. He goes, I tried to read it. He goes, and I found it utter nonsense. And I said, well, just because they're different kind of beings doesn't mean they don't have emotions.
That's right.
Doesn't mean they don't experience life altering
Or
events
yeah, and have pain and
and have
sorrow
pain and
and
joy and sorrow.
yeah,
And,
right.
I said, if you could
Yeah.
look past
Yeah.
that, I said, so then I got curious. I said, so do you like Lord of the Rings? Well, yeah. I said, so you believe in Middle Earth? I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of was curious.
Hobbits.
Yeah.
There
Do
are
you think
elves
there
in
are
that.
hobbits? Do you think there are, the orgs? And he went, and he couldn't quite.
Right.
Yeah. I said, it's similar.
Yeah.
It's stories of conflict. It's stories of resolution. It's
Yeah.
stories of a personal journey.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And he was like, well, yeah. And then,
Okay, you challenged his cognitive dissonance.
he was like, well, and then I heard him having a conversation with somebody about uh the zombie movies, all
Right.
like,
Oh,
aren't those, zombie stories? I said, so
yeah.
you believe in zombies? You don't think that's fictional?
Yeah.
Like, kind of getting cranky with me. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm just asking.
Right.
you know, well, it's got Pedro Pascal and everybody loves Pedro Pascal. I said, oh, okay. So because Pedro Pascal's in it, it means it's okay. Got it. And
Right.
he looked at me kind of funny and he was like, hmm. I was just like,
Right.
say it.
I started that book series too, and I thought I love it. But I am open to almost anything except
I
for
think so
really
too.
horror.
Like you and I
Horror is
love
not mine.
vampire stories. We love Dracula. We love,
Mm-hmm.
I I like that expansion of my
Yeah.
brain and my
Right.
consciousness.
Right.
I find a great deal in a joy in that. I
Yeah.
love that these stories also they're similar to even cultures that are real in our. I look at some
Oh,
of these
yeah.
cultures in this book series and go, no, I see where she's coming from with this. I get it.
Yeah. Well, that's how I felt about Star Trek.
Oh
You know,
yes,
the
yes,
Klingons
oh yes,
were, to me, they were sort of like Russia, you
yes.
know. Uh, so yeah, I
Well,
mean,
and Gene Roddenberry, thinking of his story and his for his time, I mean, I think those are absolutely what he experienced was the Cold
hmm
War and war itself, and how
hmm
he was able to bring that to what science fiction space story. But look at Star Wars and Star Trek. Look at how society has embraced them. They just
hmm
love them. You know,
yeah.
my kids just, we used to love to go to Comic Cons. The kids still go. Massive people go to these things
Yes, they do.
and they do the cosplay. I mean,
Yeah.
Ariel next weekend or a couple weekends from now, she's going to the Ren Fest.
Oh, right.
And she found this woman for $170 or something. Ariel sent her measurements and she's getting this beautiful Renaissance costume made.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
those they started in one place and now they're all over the country.
Yeah.
They travel everywhere. It is a thing now to travel all over the country. I think in even other countries now. This thing
Mhm.
is huge. The
Yeah.
Renaissance Festival.
Right.
I mean, that goes to tell you how much we all love stories
Yes. Yes.
and how it connects us.
Exactly. Exactly.
The kids, they've got to meet some really fascinating people because of it. Like, you know, they get, autographs from people and famous people,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a story and
Mm-hmm.
they love to chit chat and talk about it. And this is why I got involved in this. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how cool is that?
It
That you
is cool.
realize, okay, this person is super famous, but they're just like me,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And that's very grounding as far as I'm concerned. to go, wow, I thought I was going to kind of pass out if I got to meet this hot guy, but really he's just so down to earth and so cool,
Yeah, right.
or she is, or whatever,
Yeah,
I
right.
mean,
Yeah,
they come home with such excitement about it because they got to experience these stories,
that's right. Yeah,
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 story power. I mean, there's a reason why you've named it what it is because it matters.
right.
This is
Yeah,
life, our
yeah,
stories.
yeah,
And I read books, I watch movies, I watch TV shows. Yes, a lot of it for enjoyment, but you and
um,
Baz introduced us to Ted Lasso while you were
yeah. Okay, sorry, we had to stop for a minute because there was somebody at the door. Okay, so we're going to wrap this episode up, and you and I have talked on Story Power before. I know we're going to talk again.
Oh
So,
yes.
so do you have anything else you want to say at the end?
Well, once again, I just encourage people to explore what you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't care if it's nonfiction or fiction. It's all important for life and expansion and community.
Yeah,
If you love historical novels, do that. If you love reading about history and, do that. Just do it
yeah,
because stay interested, stay curious.
yeah, really. Yeah.
Just
Because
stay curious.
because we learn, we don't have to go to school to learn. Uh,
No, we don't.
we can
Right.
learn
We
from
don't.
each other, we can learn from books, we can learn from television and movies,
Yeah. Yeah.
and our experiences. We can learn from our
Yeah.
experiences. So,
And
yeah.
sitting around and having conversations with your friends.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. Exactly. Learn from your friends.
I hope you not only enjoyed this episode but gained something valuable to take away with you. If you like what you heard, please share it with your friends and give us a rating and or review. If you're a story lover too, I invite you to join my Patreon community at patreon.com/storypower, all one word. Or you might be interested in classic cinema with the Sage Sisters, a YouTube channel and Facebook page I started with my sister Celeste, where we choose one classic movie that we think still has lessons for us today. As you can see, I'm passionate about spreading the love of stories and completely believe what Philip Pullman said. After nourishment, shelter, and companionship, stories are the thing we need most in the world. Until next time, this is Lucinda Sage-Midgorden. Thanks for listening.